Alrighty. Okay. Camera seems to be working. Hopefully the audio is okay. So, yep, obviously this is being streamed a day later than usual because obviously normally on Fridays I'll do an early Ace Attorney stream and then I'll be playing D&D later in the evening, but as it happened I've started doing a programming course. Okay, yep, that's working. Hopefully everyone can see everything okay. And hey Joe, how's it going? Yes, started doing a programming course, which has basically forced me to once a month shift my Phoenix Wright stream to the next day. That's not going too bad. Monday I get to start go back on Eastern again, so that'll be nice. I was thinking of ordering pizza to celebrate. Played D&D yesterday evening. We're on hiatus now. That was fun. Oh hey everyone. So that's 9 raiders from 8-bit goggles. Sorry about that. I really should work out what's going on with Nightbot. But yep. 8-bit goggles, aka Ridley, is pretty cool, so follow him and his streams. Obviously he is just streaming Mass Effect, but he also does quite a lot of randomizers, especially Zelda and... You broke Mass Effect. That sounds ominous. How exactly did you break Mass Effect? For some reason, many things are now black blobs. Yeah, that's probably a bit of a problem. Joe, you struggle to understand people living in the south of Sweden after you move there for work because they have a sort of Danish-ish accent. Okay, so you, enemies, companions and beds are black blobs. Well, I'd say it was some sort of eldritch force taking over, but I think Mass Effect has that canonically anyway, so... Yeah. Oh yeah, for those who don't follow me, by the way, I'm BisectedBrioche, a trans feminine fan of Metroid, occasional cosplayer, not today obviously, but yep, Mondays and Wednesdays I do cosplay streams of Metroid Prime while dressed as Samus, whose hair I style mine after. I've also streamed Night in the Woods previously while cosplaying May, and that's on my YouTube channel if you want to check that out. And of course on Fridays, but today Saturdays, I stream Phoenix Wright just so I can practice doing different voices. Anyway, that's enough of a pitch. I better get on with this. So, to recap, basically, well, we're literally at the end of the case, but basically the chief of police is corrupt and we have to prove he did a murder.
Chief's organ sure is a sight to behold. Occasionally you hear him playing it from the Criminal Affairs Department.
And yes, Kane SD, alright. Phrasing. And you're in small land at the moment, back to Stockholm next week. Nice. Well, Nick, as you can clearly see, he was describing his employer playing a musical instrument and nothing else. I'm sure it is, Ridley, I'm sure it is. I mean, mine had to go to the shop for a reinstallation and it's still not quite fully functioning at the moment, and, you know, I'm taking this metaphor a bit far, so I'm going to drop out.
Occasionally we'll hear him playing it from the Criminal Affairs Department.
That's on the 2nd floor, and this is the 15th floor of an entirely different building.
When a detective screws up, the chief calls them to his office and makes them listen to the organ for hours.
What's so bad about that? Music soothes the soul.
After that, the detective can't hear anything for days, except for the ringing in their ears.
So it's an instrument of punishment. Literally. But aren't the chief's ears affected?
He never listens to anyone anyway.
That's besides the point. Ridley restarted Mass Effect and it's still, oh dear. That's not good. Could you just try, presuming it's a Steam game, could you try double checking the integrity of the cache and all that? Or, you know, maybe Kirby just invaded the game, I don't know.
Look at that giant window. Makes you want to crash through it and jump outside.
Okay, Leon. This is the 15th floor.
I know, I was just saying.
Saying what?
Ever since making a detective, I've always dreamed about doing something like that. It's just one of those jobs that makes you want to jump out of a window.
Okay, my vocal cords are already in pain. Note to self. Detective Gumshoe has a lot of dreams. So long as he doesn't go crashing through that window when he gets fired. Don't say that! Bloody hell, Phoenix. I'd say bloody hell Nick, but there's already a Nick in the chat, so... This mark looks like some kind of flower.
What it is, it's designed after the insignia on the prosecutor's badge.
Prosecutor's badge?
Yeah, like the one hanging from your collar.
What? They have badges too? Ridley, you just did a search and apparently it's a problem on newer AMD CPUs and fixable. Oh, that's good. Hey Icky, how's it going? Oh yeah, sorry if I didn't say hi to anyone, I just sort of assumed everyone came in on the raid.
The design's supposed to portray the severity of the punishment system.
Now that you mention it, it does look all pointy and kind of painful. But Mr. Edgeworth never wears a badge.
That's because he's a sharp dresser. A badge like that wouldn't go too well with his outfit.
Edgeworth is so extra and I love it. So sharp dressers don't need to wear badges?
I guess everyone just kinda lets it slide.
I don't see how that's supposed to signify severe punishment. And slide. You can see pretty far from 15 stories up. If you were to drop that suit of armour from here...
At first, the chief wanted to use stained glass for this window.
Really? Why didn't he?
They say he changed his mind because he wouldn't be able to see the view.
Oh. Stained glass or not, it's still a huge window. Okay. Righty. Pizza reheating hour is best hour. Oh, hey Pony, how's it going? I was actually, because on Monday I, can start taking estrogen again, I was actually thinking of ordering a pizza to celebrate. But I might delay that till Tuesday just so I can get an offer on it. Right, what have we got? What's this piece of cloth anyway?
It's smooth and sort of feels like vinyl. I think I felt something like this before. Nah, I can't remember.
It seems this is becoming a habit with you.
I can't keep anything in my head lately.
Note to self. Detective Gumshoe is going senile. What the hell, Emma? Emma's fingerprints were found on this cloth. I have a bad feeling about this.
If I'm fired, I won't be able to give you any information. So that's why I have to get it all out of my system now. You understand, don't you?
Don't be so negative, Detective. We do want you to share your information, though.
Oh, who am I fooling? I've never had anything useful to share to begin with.
Got to stay positive. Negatective. Indeed, Icky. Indeed. Okay, so... maybe she'll talk if I show her this. Attorneys and prosecutors have no business showing evidence outside court. It's taboo, especially when the interests of both parties are involved.
She really means it.
Lana. Yep, Joe, you're right. Gumshoe is peak himbo. My hair is not doing what I want it to today. I don't have anything else to tell you. Miss Starr, the only thing I can give you now is a poppy seed rice set.
Talk about sheep.
Eat this, and maybe you'll be able to tell black from white in court tomorrow. Right, please. I'm the prosecutor on this case. You don't expect me to sit here and discuss the case with you over a cup of tea?
I'll pass on the tea. Just tell me about the case.
Mr. Wright, Mr. Edgeworth just told you no in a very stylish manner.
Whose side are you on anyway? Maybe if I just show him my best evidence, I can get some reaction out of him. This picture was hanging on the wall in Chief Gant's office. Prosecutor Neil
Marshall. He just started making a name for himself. Looks like this was taken when he received the King of Prosecutors trophy. Speaking of that, there's something that bothers me.
Yes?
The trophy Mr. Marshall is holding. It's a little different than yours. Yes, you're right. I remember now.
Remember what?
That was what the official prosecutor's trophy looked like until 2 years ago. There's a story behind its design. A story?
Sounds interesting. Would you mind telling it to us?
It's simple, really. Contradiction. That's what the award's based on. But wait, Contradiction came out after this game. I see what you did there. Okay. That has no meaning for me anymore.
What do you mean anymore?
That's who I was last year. What good is it to dwell on the past?
He's asking me.
Why can't he just accept it graciously? Actually, something's been troubling me about this shield. Look, do you notice anything different?
Different?
Yeah, don't you remember? The other shield in the court record?
I guess I better present this other shield.
Okay, already presented that. Okay. Guess there must be something else in the office still.
I've been studying up on those files. There's nothing wrong with Mr. Edgeworth's presentation. To think people are accusing him of injustice. I ain't buying it, pal. Wait, I, for one, ain't buying it, pal.
You're looking into the case of Mr. Edgeworth?
Yeah. It was a pretty big deal while it was going on, you know. After all, a serial killer was on the loose.
But Lana was pretty clear in her confession. She forged evidence in order to prove Joe Dark guilty.
I feel a lot better now that this jar is completed.
But it only raises another question. What was a piece of it doing in the chief's safe?
More importantly, why wasn't there any money in there? Isn't that what safe's for anyway?
I have a feeling the outcome of tomorrow's trial might just hinge on this.
No lock can be opened without a fingerprint match. Besides, there's no reason for the murderer to touch his own locker.
Hey, wasn't your locker the one with the blood on it, Detective? The handprint of the real murderer's gloved hand, without any fingerprints.
Shh. If they come to arrest me, you'll defend me, won't you?
If that happens, I think you'll do best pleading with Edgeworth. Okay. Oh. Wow. Look at the size of Chief Gant's desk. Speaking of that, when we were here earlier...
Oh, it's you two.
Chief Gant. He put that paper he was reading in his desk. I wonder what he was reading.
This looks like a list of evidence.
A list of evidence?
In most cases. The list runs twice as long as this, though.
Hey, look at the case name.
Huh? SL9 incident. I wonder what this is doing here.
Hold on, Detective. What'd you just say?
I said, I wonder what.
No, about evidence lists. Normally they're twice as long.
That's right. I guess there wasn't a lot of evidence.
A half-size list of evidence. The list of evidence, it seems so short. Most lists run twice as long. What would the other half of the list be doing here? I knew it. The chief must be hiding something about that case. It would appear so. Evidence list added to the court record. List of evidence in the SL9 incident was ripped in half, so this part is all I've got.
Well, was I any help?
Of course. Thanks to your ID card, we were able to get some hard evidence.
No, that's not very kind, is it? In other words, if it wasn't for his ID card, he'd have been quite useless. Isn't that right, you in the coat?
Yeah.
Chief Gant.
We didn't think you'd be back so soon.
Fortunately, I am a man who believes in signs. As I was walking to my meeting, I happened to look out a window and saw a stray dog run right into a pole. Just then, I thought of a certain detective.
Wow, Burn.
Do you mean me, sir?
Now then, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask all of you to leave. Yes, sir. Sorry.
Oh, you in the coat. Me, sir. Drop off your ID on the way out. You won't be needing it anymore. But, sir... Now, get out! Yes, sir.
Nick, if you showed me Phoenix Wright and Chief Gant and told you one of those two men was called Phoenix and it wasn't the 80% orange man, you wouldn't believe me. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, 30 minutes in, my voices are already trying to go on strike.
We'll be on our way too then. Wait, you, the one without the spiky hair. Don't go yet.
Me, sir?
I'd like a word with you.
But, sir, I'm not a licensed scientific investigator yet.
You, with the spiky hair, you're free to go.
The voice I'm trying to go for with Gant is basically an evil version of David Attenborough. Mr. Wright?
Look, pal, if I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times. The chief's office is off limits. But no, you just had to go sneaking in there. Like that, didn't you?
I thought you said you didn't care anymore if you were fired.
Yeah, but if I knew it'd be like this, I never would have said it.
Now that I've seen the evidence Chief Gant was hiding in his office, I think I'm finally starting to get the picture. But why she kept eerily silent about it all this time?
Anyway, you're listening to me. I'm going to try smooth things over with the chief again. Later, pal.
After that, I heard from Emma. She said the police wanted to ask her some questions, so she'll be busy for the rest of the day. Uh-oh. February the 24th, Detention Centre Visitors Room. I see. So the chief asked Emma to come in for questioning. It's no use thinking about it. Tomorrow is the final day in court. I'm committing to doing everything I can to defend you, which is why I'm here. But I've already told you all I can. What you've told me over these past couple of days is absolutely nothing. Not a single useful thing. Really? I believe I did mention something quite important. Something I told you right at the beginning. I said that I was the one who stabbed Detective Goodman. You know, I think I finally figured it out. I know who it is that's lurking behind your words. Mia did a good job mentoring you. I'm rather jealous. It seems Edgeworth was right. Edgeworth? Once you're convinced you know something, no one can persuade you otherwise. Thick-headed is the term he used, I believe. Now's my chance to get her to tell me the rest of the story. Yes, it's a ghost. Only kidding, that's not until the next game. There's actually a lot more ghosts in the next few games. Funny that. You don't believe in ghost stories, Ikifu?
Well, you best start believing, because you're in one.
Now's my chance to get her to tell me the rest of the story. I have to admit, I was more than a little perplexed at first. You insisted you did it, yet there was no incriminating evidence. That's when it hit me. It's not that you're unwilling to tell the truth. It's that you're incapable of doing so because of a certain individual. What an intriguing notion. A certain individual, you say? So you think I'm protecting this person?
Protecting? No. I think afraid of is more like it. If I'm not mistaken, the person in question may have persuaded you to silence.
For argument's sake, Mr. Wright, whom, may I ask, is this person you're speaking of? The one I am supposedly so frightened of? What is this person's name?
Well, Miss Skye.
Mr. Wright, you're addressing the Chief Prosecutor. Yeah, that's actually pretty fun. I see why she's doing it. Do not forget your place.
I take it she's not ready to spill the beans.
My apologies. Could you please tell me a bit more about what you think you know? We were partners until 2 years ago. I respected him as a detective.
Assuming he is respectable, then tell me something. Why would he try to hide his crimes?
His crimes?
Both you and Edgeworth will be brought before a board of inquiry for what you did.
Ah, like that one, did you tell Eleanor? You looked away for a second and thought you got all cousin hit. Hey, Eleanor, how's it going?
Specifically, hiding and forging evidence.
Of course, these are serious offences.
Why is it, though, that Chief Gant's name was never mentioned?
Chief Gant?
Edgeworth didn't know the truth behind the forgery. The only party who could have possibly tampered with the evidence was
me. I had access because I was second in command of that investigation.
Yes, you, but also one other, Damon Gant.
If you intend to accuse Chief Gant, you mean more than just words. You also need somatic gestures. Show me proof that Chief Gant falsified evidence in that case.
A picture is drawn on the back of the evidence list in magic marker. I've got a very bad feeling about this. I just found this in the safe in the chief's office. This jar piece and this piece of cloth. Do you know what these are? They're pieces of evidence from the SL9 incident.
Why did he have a picture of Game & Watch going on the rampage? Well, you see, basically Game & Watch murdered a bunch of people. Then he murdered a prosecutor. And that somehow enabled the chief of police to be corrupt. I don't know. Maybe it was ghosts.
The person concealing evidence was none other than Chief Gant himself. Now tell me, why are you taking all the blame for him?
Touché, Mr. Wright. It's as you surmised. I cannot disobey the chief's orders, even if it means being found guilty for murder.
Why not?
Come now, Mr. Wright. You can't possibly expect me to be able to tell you that. 3 days ago, I had no choice but to cooperate. In the murder of Detective Goodman. Or perhaps I should say, follow orders. Yes, that's more accurate than cooperate. Orders, with scarecrow quotes. Although I can't tell you the details. Yep, corrupt ghosts. I can say that I was given an order that day. I need you to dispose of Bruce Goodman's body. You'll find it inside the trunk of Marge Edgeworth's car. Corrupt ghosts that ghosted. The very worst kind. Just as I suspected, despite what everyone believes. You're not the one who murdered Detective Goodman. Correct. I was trying to take the body out of Edgeworth's car. The trunk's lock was broken. And I discovered that that murder weapon while inspecting the body. The murder weapon? You mean Edgeworth's knife? No. When I found the body, this was the knife stuck in it. The knife from the SL9 incident. Serial killer Joe Dark's knife. Joe Dark was Mr. Game & Watch, by the way. That was his alias. Icky would be more impressed if she'd managed to miss it. That would be quite a feat. I couldn't just leave that knife in him, so I took it out and stabbed him with another knife. That would be Edgeworth's knife. That's right. Even though he was already dead, my hands were shaking at the thought of stabbing him. That's why I ended up cutting my hand. And that's the reason for the bandage on your right hand. Yes, it seems I got blood on the victim's shoes as well. And then she saw me just as I plunged the knife in. Miss Starr, huh? Why do you need to hide Dark's knife so badly? It took a lot of work to finally close the Dark case 2 years ago. It was over with. I didn't ever want it to be opened again. My intent was to prevent that, by whatever means possible. So you hid Dark's knife. The weapon used to stab the detective was evidence in the Joe Dark case. If word got out, which it would, the reporters would have a field day with that. So you wrapped the knife in your scarf and hid it. In Edgeworth's exhaust pipe. Right, then I called my sister to tell her what had happened and to ask her to hide the knife that was inside my muffler. You asked Emma? I didn't want anyone on the force to know about this. That would explain why Emma is so confident about Lena's innocence. Speaking of phone calls, I had a bad feeling about one of them that day. A bad feeling? The truth is, after I received those orders from Chief Gant, the first thing I did was make a phone call. A phone call to Patrolman Jake Marshall. To Marshall? Why on earth would you call him? The lead investigator for the SL9 incident had been murdered. I wanted that fact to be kept hidden, and I needed help. He was the only other person I could trust. Or at least I thought I could trust him at the time. However, it seems that after I spoke to him, He went off on an escapade of his own.
Oh, you mean?
Not wanting the case to die, he'd decided to take things into his own hands.
He disguised himself as Detective Goodman and tried to steal the evidence.
He had already stolen the ID card, but it seems he still hadn't made up his mind to break into the evidence room. After my phone call, any remaining doubts he had must have disappeared.
So your phone call caused the incidents in the evidence room?
I'm afraid that's all I can tell you.
But Lana...
You've earned my respect, Mr. Wright, both as a defense attorney and an investigator. Really, you should only be doing one or the other. But, you know, game mechanics. Now please, don't pursue this any further in court tomorrow.
Tomorrow's trial. There's only one way to drive off Lana's demons. I've got to get to the bottom of everything. Detective Goodman's real murderer. And what went down in the chief's office 2 years ago.
To be continued. Cue JoJo music. Okay, this should be the last phase of the last case, so got maybe an hour and 15 minutes, so maybe we can actually complete this before my voice dies. February the 25th, 9:47 AM, District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 2.
This is the defendant lobby, alright, but there's no defendant. I've been trying to reach Lana all morning. Where could she be?
It's only a few steps away from the Judge Dredd universe in that regard. Yeah, it's basically what happened is it was based on the legal system of Japan. So, but obviously they localised it and tried to convince everyone it was set in America. You know, with American burgers, jelly donuts, that sort of thing. So then they tried to reframe it in the sort of the perspective of the American legal system, and sort of went with a near future setting.
And where's Emma for that matter? It almost seems as if
Something's been happening behind the scenes.
Oh, something's been happening behind the scenes. Edgeworth.
Knowing you, you've already figured it out. Who the owner of the 7777777 ID number is, that is.
Well, I have a pretty strong hunch. Looks like I'm not the only one who's figured it out.
You know, the only reason this trial didn't reach a verdict yesterday is because there was still room for doubt regarding this ID record. If that number does belong to whom you suspect, then no doubt will remain. After all, he hasn't officially been charged with anything.
True, not yet.
From that day, Japanifornia was created. You're right, Joe. Viva Japanifornication.
True, not yet.
In any event, once all data has been removed from that list, I can call for a ruling. 5 minutes, right? And Chief Prosecutor Sky will be found guilty.
But she didn't do it.
I figured you'd say as much. That's why I came here, to hear what you have to say.
This is the first time he's ever done something like this. Is this a date? Lana's hiding something, and the only way we'll ever know the truth is to draw it out of her.
Edgeworth is in big tsundere mode in this case. Yep, he is. The truth. Everything goes back to the SL9 incident. Don't be stupid. Today's the last day of the trial. We don't have time to reminisce about the past. That depends on you. If she's found guilty, you'll lose your only chance to find out what really happened. I'll think about it. See you in court, right? This is it. If I'm ever going to find out what Chief Gant has on her, it's now. February the 25th, 10 a.m. District Court, courtroom number 9. Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lena Skye. The defence is ready, Your Honour. The prosecution is ready, Your Honour. Normally, this is where the prosecution puts forth its opening statement. But before that, the police chief has a proposal to make. Chief Gant. There he is, fading in. Morning, folks. How's everyone doing? Hey, Udgy, been back to the pool yet? No, I've been drowning enough as it is in my work. Ho, ho, that's a good one. I don't think I can top that. Yeah, they're sleeping together. Is he a ghost? Does he have teleportation powers? Good question. Yes, he's a ghost that died and died twice. Or maybe died so many times he came back to life, I don't know. If you don't mind my asking, Chief, what exactly is this proposal of yours? Lana, that is to say the defendant, has asked me if she could speak directly to the court. She wants to do what? Having heard what she intends to say, I feel she should be granted her request. In the end, it should save everyone a lot of time and trouble. Sorry about that. What's all this about, defendant? I'd just like to make one simple request and I'll be finished. Well then, what's your request? Your Honour, I'd like you to put an immediate end to this trial. Huh? I confessed all charges against me. On February the 21st of this year, I murdered Detective Bruce Goodman. In the underground parking lot of the prosecutor's office, I heard the name Bruce and I thought he was a shark. I was terrified and acted in self-defense. No, Lana. Yes, Lana. You can't. Your Honour, the defendant's claim does not change the defence's plea. In that case, Mr. Wright, I no longer require your services. But, Lana... Your Honour, I hereby forfeit my right to an attorney. The prosecution may lack direct evidence against me, but it has sufficiently proven its case through testimony and circumstantial evidence. In my defence, he looks like a knoll. Lana, we can't hear you. Please face the camera. And stop impersonating Cousin It. I would like you to render your verdict now, if you please. Well, the defendant certainly has a right to self-representation. Her request is legally valid, although this is an unprecedented situation. Lena would indeed be the worst in a Zoom meeting.
Indeed, it appears there's no need to further continue this trial. Even if Mr. Wright may feel otherwise, this can't be happening. It appears the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant.
One moment, Your Honour. My boyfriend makes a valid point.
Mr. Edgeworth?
The prosecution has not yet proven the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling at this stage would certainly be premature.
Come now, Worthy. I understand this is a difficult time for you, but why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut,
Oh, he's doing the finger thing. I don't think I care for your tone, Chief Gant.
What?
Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes. Sorry, but I am no longer the naive little boy you would have me be. Wow, Edgeworth's gone crazy. Look, mate, you take your Templar tie and hit the bricks. And yes, you're right, Joe. Phoenix probably would end up with a cat filter. Although I think, unlike the cat filter lawyer, he'd probably not abuse the law to try and have a girlfriend arrested on trumped-up charges. Namely because, of course, he has a boyfriend. With this sudden confession from the defendant, it's obvious to me some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes.
Some kind of deal, Not everyone operates as you do, Worthy.
I thought so. Your Honour, the prosecution would like to change its first witness.
Oh? To whom?
As its first witness, the prosecution would like to call Miss Emma Skye. I request that the court hears her testimony. Trial by combat. Now that would make an interesting Ace Attorney game. Mr. Edgeworth, I am exercising my right to self-representation. I don't think we need to continue. I don't care what you think, Miss Skye. The exposure of the truth sometimes results in tragedy. However, no matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an even greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it. Damn.
Very well. The court shall grant the prosecution's request. That's okay with you, right, Chief Gant? Worthy. Worthy? You'll live to regret this. Mark my words.
Miss Emma Skye, please take the stand. Looks like Edgeworth has decided to take the horse by the reins. Yep, he's made a threat on the records. Now then, witness, please state your name and occupation. My name is Emma Skye. My occupation, I'm Lena's little sister, and I want to be a scientific investigator. Being someone's relative's a job, right? 2 years ago, you encountered the serial killer, Joe Dark, of the Joe Dark killings. Tell us, how much XP did you earn? Is this correct? Yes. I'm trying my hardest to forget about that, though. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to recall those events one more time.
Mr. Edgeworth, please remember that this trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman. Is an incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant?
Yes, it most certainly is. Yep, you're right, Icky. It's a fantastic coincidence that Joe Dark committed the Joe Dark killings. There was actually rumours he was the Zodiac killer instead. And yep, it's that time of the stream again. Yep, TSMR. TSMR. If you will. A sonic infusion. The fastest infusion alive. Smooth.
Well, okay then. He sure gave in fast.
Now, please testify about what happened to you 2 years ago.
The trip to yesteryear has finally begun. It's bound to lead to the truth behind this trial.
Okay, 2 years ago. I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took me hostage. Neil Marshall rescued me. But I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest. And he had very weird hair.
It's a good thing you weren't harmed.
I passed out. I don't remember much.
That's understandable. However, please tell me, Mr. Edgeworth, what does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder?
That will soon become apparent, Your Honour.
You've got to admire him for his courage, considering he has no evidence. Very well. The defence may begin its cross-examination.
And press.
2 years ago, the defendant was a detective at the police department, correct?
Yes. She was second in command under the then Deputy Chief of Police, Gant. My sister. She was the best detective ever.
Yes, I remember. Deputy Chief Gant and Miss Sky used to be quite the pair.
Onion Boy did it. I believe they shared the same office? That's right. I'd always sit at my sister's desk and dream about playing that organ. I wanted to play it that day too. The police department and the prosecutor's office held a ceremony that day. Lana promised to take me to dinner after she finished her work.
A man?
Yes, Joe Dark. He was a serial killer. Joe Dark was brought in for questioning on the day of that ceremony. We were desperate to get anything on him that would lead to an arrest.
When he saw his chance, he fled the room, right?
Upon fleeing the room, Doc proceeded to take the elevator. He must have been in a panic because the elevator was going up. Then he ran into Sky and Gant's office. There was a lot of noise coming from outside, so I opened up the door to have a look. That's when I saw him. Luckily, the Powerpuff Girls took him away, and I only had to worry about Joe Dark. Yep, definitely panicking. You don't use the elevator in an emergency. What was the prosecutor doing there? That day, there were two people present during the Dark's questioning. Deputy Chief Damon Gant and Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Almost forgot about Gant. Neil Marshall had just received the King of Prosecutors Award. Young and dedicated, he went straight to the questioning room after the ceremony. I assume that would also be why he was the first to run after Dark. When Dark grabbed me, I thought I was as good as dead. And that's when Prosecutor Marshall came running in. I don't clearly remember what happened then. But... Can you tell us about that? Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark, and then the lights went out. The lights? It was just about this time. It was just about this time of year. There was a terrible storm going on, and lightning struck nearby. So the electricity went out. Taking the elevator, kid coming to work, murder happening. This reminds you of another case, Joe. Well, golly gee. Wait a minute. If it was pitch dark in that room, you shouldn't have been able to see anything, right? Right. But just then, lightning flashed again outside. That sudden flash left an unforgettable image of the scene in my mind. I see. I told the detective what I saw then. The detective? Yes. Detective Goodman. He was in charge of the case. Detective Bruce Goodman. The victim. Dun dun. So you spoke with Detective Goodman about this 2 years ago? Yes, that's what's so scary about this trial. And you told Detective Goodman about what you saw? Yes, but at the time, the words just wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture. A picture? Yes, I think she mentioned that before. Well, Mr. Wright, have you heard enough? This picture the witness drew, I believe it has a very important meaning. But the list of evidence I was given 2 years ago didn't contain a picture. Technically it did. Witness, would you mind if we added this statement to your testimony? Yes, Your Honour. I drew a picture of that scene once, but it seems to have been lost. You drew a picture of that scene you witnessed, right? Yeah, she does mind. Yes, I wanted to do everything I could to help the investigation. I can still see it now, whenever I close my eyes. That's strange. I took over the case after Prosecutor Marshall died. Yet, I never received any picture. Perhaps the witness is mistaken? But I did draw it, I swear. I'm not just imagining it. I mean, technically, isn't that how pictures work? This picture that Emma drew, that reminds me. I guess I should check the evidence again. Well, anyway, let's continue. The scene that imprinted an image in your mind. Can you please describe it to us? Okay, we do actually have evidence for this. Mr. Edgeworth. This little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture. And yet you would insist on denying its existence. Yep, poor, traumatised Emma indeed, Jay. Hey, I'm not the bad guy. All I'm saying is that as the prosecutor for that case, I wasn't handed such a picture. That may well be. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold, the world of tomorrow. Today. Is the evidence list for the SL9 incident? Please turn it over, Your Honour. I mean, it sure was nice of Gant to let you keep that. Turn it over? Turn it... Oh! What's this? I just made the judge sound like a cat girl. I'm going to hell. Yes, what is that? Hey, that's it. That's the picture I drew. Indeed. Two men appear to be wrestling here. What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list? Me? Only the prosecutor in charge should have access to that list. These lists, they're different from each other. Hey Kiara, how's it going? Oh, thanks for the quote, Icky. I just made the judge sound like a cat girl. I'm going to hell. Yeah, I deserve that. Not too bad. I'm getting very drained from, well, you know, literally recovering from surgery, and I had a programming course yesterday, so I've moved my Phoenix Wright stream to today. D&D wrapped up yesterday, so I'm going to be running a Blades in the Dark game next Friday. That should be fun. And of course, right now, I'm playing Phoenix Wright and straining my voice to oblivion. These lists, they're different from each other. What? It would appear, Mr. Edgeworth, that the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. What am I learning on my course? Any particular language? Life Code. It's sort of like a Visual Basic, but I think it's Mac related. Luckily, it can also be used for Android. It's very useful for rapid prototyping. Oh, excellent, Kiara. How did your appointment go? These two lists fit together to form one. You can see the marks here where they were torn apart from each other. So you see, Mr. Edgeworth, it's quite obvious what happened 2 years ago. Only half the evidence in the case ever reached you. Yeah, I hadn't heard of life codes, but the basically a friend of my dad is really into it, and he works. Actually, I think he's semi-retired, but he works at the local university, and he sort of convinced me to take the course. If nothing else, it's going to keep me in a sort of programming frame of mind. So, yeah, should be interesting. And Kiara, your appointment went well. You got blood work done, and hormones will be coming soon. Excellent. I myself am going back on hormones because obviously for surgery I had to come off them on Monday. I mean, I say going back on them, but I literally just resumed taking them. I'm gonna probably going to order a pizza to celebrate, and it'll be great because I keep getting hot flushes, which is why I've just taken my jacket off. Yep, it's going to be bad pizza from Domino's because it's not about the pizza itself, it's about the pizza. Also, I really like those cookies that most pizza shops sell. You know what sort. Order? Order? But Miss Sky, why do you draw your picture on the back of such an important list? Because that's what Detective Goodman handed me in the questioning room, Your Honour. You assumed I took the jacket off because the trial was getting too intense. Well, that too, obviously. I mean, the tension between Phoenix and Edgeworth. Wait a minute. If this list was torn in half, then that means... Your Honour? Are you alright, Mr. Wright? Your eyes are bulging from your head. If the evidence list was torn in half, then there might be more of the drawing on the back of Mr. Edgeworth's list. Yes, that is quite conceivable, Mr. Edgeworth. You do know what that word means, don't you? Conceivable. It's the opposite of inconceivable. It's possible. Let's see. Is something wrong? Do you even have to ask? Sorry, Your Honour. There is indeed something drawn on the back of my list. It's that thing. Joe, you did some coding courses, and one thing you noticed is how obsessive you got about it. Like you need to solve a problem and can't put the computer down. Yeah, that's fair. Hey, Slashdev, how's it going? I should really adjust my posture a bit. Oh, good. That's that thing. A thing that was dancing in the evidence room. Clearly, this is acts of... Clearly, this act of vandalism is the work of a certain chief of detectives.
I guess he was out of scrap paper.
Evidence list restored and updated to the court records. List of evidence in the SL9 incident. Half this list was found in Gant's desk. The prosecution just turned into a zombie. Getting hyper-focused on one problem is your go-to answer for what's your greatest weakness in interviews. Icky? Yeah. My answer is stabbing interviewers who ask awkward questions. I tend to have trouble finding a job.
Very well. Witness. Will you please testify about this picture you drew 2 years ago?
Yes, sir, Your Honour. Actually, since the interviews for programming positions, go-to might be a word to avoid. Fair point.
What's wrong with Emma? She seemed to be thinking about something when she was looking at the picture.
Emma's picture. This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. The flash of lightning was so bright, all I could see was shadows. After that, I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant.
Your Honour, this picture shows the duality of man. To think, a flash of lightning can burn such an image in your mind, much as it creates Frankenstein's monster. Thanks to that, though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw. Or grants the Flash's powers. Well, I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Joe Dark about to murder Prosecutor Neil Marshall. The defence may now begin its cross-examination.
Sorry, by the way, my voice is starting to go a bit.
Did you draw this picture right after the incident?
I think I drew it 2 or 3 days later. At first, I was in such a state of shock that I couldn't do anything. During that time, the investigation team was reorganised. Detective Goodman was placed in charge, under the direction of Damon Gant and Lena Skye.
2 or 3 days later, the memory should still have been fresh in her mind. Excuse me, witness. But can you please tell us why this picture is painted all black? So at the time you didn't even know it was Mr. Marshall who had come to your rescue?
No, I couldn't see him clearly. The lightning was so bright, and I was knocked to the floor.
You were knocked to the floor?
Dark had a tight grip on me, but when Mr. Marshall jumped on him, I was knocked away. I turned around, and that's when the lightning flashed.
Poor Emma. I'm just glad she wasn't hurt.
What happened after the lightning flashed?
You mean you didn't see the actual murder take place?
No, I'm sorry. The flash of light only drove off the darkness for a split second. Not only that, but the trauma of the situation understandably caused the witness to faint.
Do you really need to torture this girl any further? What? Hey, I'm not the bad guy here. Unless you're into that.
Anyway, this picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant.
Sorry for asking so many times, but are you sure you drew exactly what you saw?
Of course, this is the exact scene.
It wasn't influenced in any way from your talks with the detectives.
Are you insinuating we somehow manipulated her memory, Mr. Wright?
No, of course not. I'd better watch out, or he might find some way to cut my salary.
I drew this picture before I heard anything from the detectives, so I don't think anyone's story would have influenced me.
Mr. Wright, is there something that's bothering you about this picture? Huh? Well, that's strange. She claims this is exactly the scene that was imprinted in her mind, and yet there's clearly a contradiction here.
Okay. Yes, the shading is awful. She was like 13. Be nice, Icky. Okay. Exactly what she saw in that instant. So where's the contradiction? Oh. Maybe it's that the knife's already broken.
Your Honour, that statement contradicts this evidence. It does? I don't see anything contradictory. Huh? Really? Objection overruled. Try to think before you make accusations, Mr. Wright. Whoops, that didn't go so well.
Okay. Let's try that again. There we go. It was the autopsy report I needed, not the knife.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this picture the witness drew contains a blatant contradiction.
What? But I still remember it like it was yesterday. Hey Amanda, how's it going?
Mr. Wright, perhaps it would be faster if you simply pointed out this contradiction for us. What part of this picture contradicts the autopsy report? The contradiction, of course, lies here. Take a look at the knife the man's holding. If you look closely, you can see its tip's broken.
Still Friday where you are? Fair enough. Oh yeah, I see what you... Yeah. Basically, I had a programming course yesterday, so I'm streaming today instead. Normal service will resume next week. Well, not quite normal service, because instead of streaming D&D on Nick's channel, I'll be GMing a game of Blades in the Dark, which should be interesting. But yes, it's the weekend, so every day is Friday. I mean, also I'm off work because of my surgery, so weekends are immaterial to me. So, yep, everyone get that Friday feeling. If you look closely, you can see its tip is broken. Even I don't have to look closely to see that, Mr. Wright. But, Mr. Wright, look at the evidence. See the murder weapon? Its tip is broken too. Besides, what I actually drew was he was stabbing him with a ruler. It represents how much I hate maths. Funny how the blades are never in the light. Yep, Coral indeed, Kiara. Hard to cut yourself that way. Lightsabers are in the light. Yes, you're right, sugar snaps. Unfortunately, I don't think lightsaber... Actually, that's not true. There are actually electrical weapons in the setting, so there could actually be lightsabers. And they work very well on ghosts.
If I recall, the tip of this knife was found broken off in the victim's body.
It was the conclusive piece of evidence that proved Joe Dark was the murderer.
I'm afraid it's not so simple, Emma.
And where, pray tell, could you possibly see a problem?
It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound to the back. If the victim was only stabbed once, then the murder weapon should not yet be broken. Oh, what's the meaning of this?
Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand.
Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it couldn't possibly wind up there. That's right. But what does this all mean?
The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness's memory is mistaken.
That's why I asked her so many times if she was sure she remembered correctly. I believe you were annoyed at the time, but she was sure she remembered correctly.
But there's no other way to explain this inconsistency.
Not so fast, Mr. Edgeworth. There is another explanation. Have you considered ghosts? Or aliens? Have you forgotten already about a little something called falsified evidence?
You're treading on thin ice, right?
All I'm saying is that this broken knife tip might be the piece of evidence that was forged. I mean, knives are forged, aren't they? They're forged all the time.
Yep, that's right. Case is haunted.
You can't deny the possibility.
No.
Order! 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 Are you saying the investigation really was corrupted?
Oh, thanks for the bits, Icky. Pun tax. Oh, thanks for the pride flag as well. Yep, Kiara, you're right. We need Luigi on this case. They're like thumbtacks, but not. Of course.
Are you saying the investigation really was corrupted? Your Honor, please allow me once again to go over the events that took place the day of the murder. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day. After receiving the King of Prosecutors Award at the ceremony, Neil Marshall questioned Joe Dark along with Damon Gans.
What a crossover that would indeed be.
During his questioning, Joe Dark fled the room. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and was killed by Dark.
Wait, so if Dark got stabbed, that would have mean a blade would have literally been in the dark. Yeah, that's a coincidence. Ikifu. Luigi, come quickly. We need you to wander around at the dark room and wet yourself. Congratulations, Iki. You've distilled the entire Luigi's Mansion series to its base elements.
It's my belief that somewhere in this story there is a lie.
I'm not lying. The man really was holding up a broken knife. If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This could not have been the actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife.
What are the chances of there being two broken knives? Another broken knife besides Joe Dark's? Could there have been one?
Yes, there is.
If the witness is this adamant about the accuracy of what she saw, it can't just be explained away as a simple observational error.
Mr. Wright? Kiara. Luigi rolls eyes. Come on, I just stated my brother from King Boo for the 7th time. Damn it, now it's number 8. I can't do an Italian accent and I'm very sorry. Yep, people don't make knives like they used to. Interesting you might say that, Icky. Interesting you might say that.
In that incident, Emma really did see a broken knife. I assume, then, that you have some information about this other broken knife? If so, please feel free to enlighten us. The murder weapon was already broken prior to the murder. There's only one way. Take a look at this. Here's the real murder weapon.
If anything's broken here, it's you.
Huh? I'm sure this must all be very amusing to you, Mr. Wright. But may I remind you that the fate of Miss Lana Skye hangs in the balance. Sorry, Your Honor. Please give me another chance.
Oops. Okay, guess it must be the photo. Look at this photograph. Look at this photograph.
The answer lies in the past. 2 years in the past.
Do I want to become famous? Do I want to buy followers? No, I don't. Do we have a mod in the chat? Can a mod get that bot, please? There we go. Ah, that's okay, Kiara. I just did it myself anyway. Right, where were we? The answer lies in the past. 2 years in the past. Right here inside this picture. This is a picture of the awards ceremony. Ah! What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? It's the broken murder weapon. Notice the award prosecutor marshal is holding. That's a broken knife. As we earlier concluded, the knife in the drawing was not Joe Dark's knife. That being the case, the knife the witness saw was in all likelihood from this award. Icky. Look at this photograph. It indicates an angry stab. Order! 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 Neil Marshall was ordered King of Prosecutors that day. As an award, he was given this broken shield and knife. When he chased after Joe Dark, he pulled out this knife. Being a prosecutor who did not carry a pistol, this broken knife was the only weapon he had in this dangerous situation. But that cannot be. Oh, and why not, Mr. Edgeworth? Because if the King of Prosecutors Award knife was the murder weapon, then the murderer and the victim would be reversed. What do you mean? I mean, this man raising a knife would have been Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh. Oh. Dun dun. But the prosecutor was the one who actually died. That's true. What's going on here? It seems Mr. Wright has been a bit too eager to jump to conclusions. Oh shit indeed, Goggles. Oh shit indeed. Wait. I remember now. I remember everything. Witness? Mr. Edgeworth. What is it? Could you show me your evidence list again, please? His list? The one with that picture scribbled on the back? Yes, Icky. He was the stabber, but he was just really bad at stabbing. Just that bad. He stabbed himself. I knew it. This picture. I'm the one who drew it. It was me. I'm responsible for the blue badger. I'm sorry. What? You drew that? That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture. God, why do they have to play the music? Yep, I'm going to vote that the badger did it. All this time I've been trying so hard to forget. I must have locked this part away deep inside me. Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness's testimony. Would you please tell us what you've recalled, Miss Skye? Yes, Your Honour. First the knife mix-up, and now the blue badger. This should be interesting. No, Icky, the badger doesn't see all. The badger does all. The badger guides us. The badger hunts us. It is by the badger's whim we are created, and by the badger's whim we are undone. In his dance, you see the universe itself. Yes, Icky, the badger is Pan. When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed towards both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow. So yep, the badger's also a time traveller. It all makes perfect sense. I'm channeling Invisible Girl at the moment.
This is certainly most unusual.
Try impossible. The chief of detectives hadn't even designed him until this year.
That would mean he doesn't even exist 2 years ago. Yes, well, the defense may now begin its cross-examination.
Stop, please. Don't pursue this any further.
Lana? What's the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair.
But you can't do this. I've already confessed to the crime. Why can't you just leave it at that? Chief Prosecutor Skye. We've already come this far. It's too late to turn back.
Silence. The defence will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant.
It seems we're finally getting to the core of the matter. Okay, my voice is going, so I'll stream until I hit 2 hours, and then I'll call it.
Here's Shadow. So you mean you didn't actually see his face with its winning smile and all?
Icky, I call to the stand the blue badger. Joe, the design was just an imitation. The badger in its true form was always there. Please don't say that.
So you actually mean you didn't actually see his face with its winning smile and all?
That's right, but I still remember it. He had 3 creepy horns.
This is pointless.
That thing couldn't have possibly existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken. The alternative is too horrifying to contemplate. Goggles, are you the only person who kind of likes the blue badger? Yes you are. But there's no accounting for taste. And Icky, you're right, there's always something a bit creepy about the theme.
That may well be. But what's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did.
Oh, and I suppose you have an explanation? If so, then by all means, tell us what this shadow really was.
What was it Emma saw when that lightning flashed? Who is this blue badger really?
I think I know.
The blue badger hadn't been dreamt up when Emma drew this picture, yet she's certain she saw its shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, and anyone who knows better, it is the defence's belief that on that fateful day 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looked similar to the blue badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room. Prosecutor Edgeworth, show your true form.
Sorry. I said something awful. Sorry. Sorry, I shouldn't really laugh at my in-jokes, but... No, wait, I always laugh at my in-jokes. Mr. Wright.
In this room? Very well, Mr. Wright. Help us coax this demon.
Sorry, okay. I'll drop that.
What is it that this witness saw in that instant? Please show us this mysterious blue badger look-alike.
As it turns out, it was a very unstable jar.
The mysterious blue badger was, in fact, this. But that, what exactly is that? I believe it's some sort of jar.
But Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the blue badger.
Indeed it doesn't, as it stands now. It's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint? Our viewpoint? Oh, that sounds like a puzzle that would be perfect for the Nintendo DS. I've got to show them the correct angle to look at this from.
Okay, M is rotate. Oh. Oh, R is rotate. Yep, the blue badger's ceiling jar. Icky. Then Phoenix and Edgeworth simultaneously rip their shirts off in a one-on-one smooth motion. Wait, wrong series. Icky, is this what they use instead of wassaid in Japan? Good question. Joe, you got stuck in this because you couldn't get it at the right angle. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure exactly how perfect I need to get this. think that's about right.
This isn't right. I've got to make it look more like the Badger.
Allow me to remind the defenders that his case hinges on the witness's drawing. If Mr. Wright can't match the shape the witness drew, we cannot accept his claim.
I've got to find just the right angle. Maybe I should rotate it vertically a bit more, or horizontally.
Come on, Mr. Wright, you can do it. Yep, put him back. Ah, maybe that's it. Yes.
Well, is this a miracle or what? Or some might call it a curse.
Hell yes, indeed, 8-bit goggles. Hell yes, indeed.
No one can possibly deny this jar's resemblance to the Blue Badger.
No, it can't be! Yep, that's the correct reaction, Edgeworth. Nobody can deny it, though some might want to.
Order! Order! The defence has proven its claim. The mysterious Blue Badger witnessed on the day of the crime was actually this.
Although we all enjoyed Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? Of course, the spirit of the Blue Badger haunts us, dooms us, threatens us, but how is that relevant to this trial?
What do you mean?
Yep, you're right, Icky. They've been denying the truth all along. The truth about each other. So that badger thing was actually just a jar? That doesn't change anything. It's clearly still a monster. Yes, you're right, Goggles. We need to put him back with capital letters.
I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything.
Indeed? Very well then. Please tell us. What's different now we know the witness saw this jar?
Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar.
At the very specific angle, I might add, Mr. Wright.
Yes. Well, knowing this, where could she have seen the jar? Where? The location of the jar is shown in the picture taken on the day of the crime.
Oh, come on, it's just a myth. Like the one saying about strictly speaking, Candlejack just ties people up, he doesn't kill them. So, why is Iki a ghost now? Oh, congratulations on the 20k channel points, Kiara. Thanks for watching. Ah, you're dedicated to the bit, that's fair enough. Right. Oh, anyway, I'll finish this section. It's on a shelf in the office of Damon Gant. But the body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself. Yes, and it's these two factors that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take in Lana Sky's office. It happened on the other side of the room, in Chief Gant's office. Are you implying the murderer moved the victim's body from Damon Gant's office to Lana Sky's office? Yes. Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason. You know what this reason was, Mr. Wright? I finally figured this out. So this is why Lena tried to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now, though. Please recall the witness's testimony. Okay, I think that's going to be, you don't use the points to Kiara. You just like collecting them. Fair enough. Okay, I'm going to have to call it here because I am actually getting quite sleepy. So this should be a good point because he's going to review the testimony and that should make it very easy to pick up again. You just can't think of a good use for the any ejections lady redeem. Also, it abbreviates to AOL. You're right. It does. Can you imagine if Adam sent out, if like Samus had a stack of DVDs, Adam sent her that he had it, that computer Adam was backed up on. Yep, precisely. Those free drinks coasters. Anyway, yeah, thanks for coming everyone. I'll just find someone to raid. Sorry it can go on a bit longer, but... yeah. You're quite welcome, Mickey. So... Kiara knows someone to raid. Excellent. I'll just see who's online first. But just to reiterate... thank you, 8-Bit Goggles, for the raid, and thank you, Icky, for the bits. And who's online? Because I don't stream weekends enough to really know. Nobody I really know, so, yeah, if you want to, anyone wants to suggest anyone, that's perfectly fine. Oh, glad you enjoyed it, Joe. Valden. She's a trans gal. Okay, let's give her a raid then. Alrighty, so I'll be back on Monday with more Metroid Prime 2 in cosplay, of course. I'll be streaming again Wednesday. Friday I'll be streaming Phoenix Wright on the normal schedule of from 5 o'clock. And then on the next channel I'll be GMing a game of Blades in the Dark. So that should be fun. With that then, oh, my hair is malfunctioning. Oh, anyway, with that, thanks everyone for dropping by. Hope to see you next stream, and we'll be raiding in 3, 2, 1, and go.